Many thanks for joining us at this time. Now, details of the news. The National Assembly has declared its readiness to come up with appropriate legislation that will guarantee the rights and privileges of domestic workers in Nigeria. Our correspondent Kuliojo has more in the story.
The National Assembly has declared its readiness to come up with appropriate legislation that will guarantee the rights and privileges of domestic workers in Nigeria. The Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, gave the assurance in Abuja on Monday during the opening session of public hearing on a bill seeking to provide for the documentation and protection of domestic workers and employees. Correspondent Kuliojo reports that Akpabio, represented by Senator Binos Yaro, said the bill seeks to ensure and preserve the inalienable rights of domestic workers in the country, adding that category of people have been subjected to various forms of abuse and molestation across the country. The Senate President stressed the need for all stakeholders to confront the grave injustice being meted to domestic workers, collate the views and opinions to domestic workers, and set them free from all forms of discrimination and molestation in the hands of their employers.
That every individual, including domestic workers and employees, is born equal and possesses the same inalienable rights. As a Senate committed to rectifying the wrongs in our society, we have come together today to discuss the bill to provide for the documentation and protection of domestic workers and employers.
He, however, declared the readiness of the 10th Assembly to collate the views and opinions of stakeholders and ensure the speedy passage of the bill for the welfare and well-being of domestic workers in the country. Other speakers at the event, including the Chairman, Senate Committee on Labour and Productivity, Senator Diket Plang, and the Minister of Labour and Employment, represented by Ismail Abubakar, highlighted the plight of domestic workers in Nigeria.
I'm sure that most of us are aware of nasty things that have happened, even either to the domestic worker or the employer of the domestic service. And the bill is intended that anyway becomes a law where the Ministry for Labour and Productivity will have a lot of role in documenting, standing in for, accounting for domestic workers employed in Nigeria.
The category of workers comprises a significant part of the global workforce in informal employment and is becoming the most vulnerable group of workers. They work for private households, often without clear terms of employment origins and excluded from the scope of labor legislation. They often labor under harsh economic conditions, work long hours for low wages without benefits.
Still on legislative matters, the House of Representatives has urged all parties involved in the ongoing dispute in the petroleum sector to cease allegations and counter-allegations pending the outcome of its investigation on the myriad of challenges in the sector. The House Joint Committee, comprising the Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Committees, commenced a forensic legislative investigation into allegations of substandard petroleum products, non-availability of crude oil to domestic refineries, and other related matters. Correspondent Naboji Naboji sent in the report.
The investigation, according to the chairman of the committee, will proceed in phases, starting with allegations against Dangote Refinery and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority regarding the quality of produce and imported products, as well as a complaint by refining companies about the non-availability of crude oil supply to domestic refineries. They said the committee will also investigate other key items such as the presence of middlemen in crude trading, and indiscriminate issuance of licenses, and a lack of international standard laboratories to check adulterated products, among others. The investigative hearing, which began on Monday, aims to restore trust and ensure the quality and security of Nigeria's petroleum sector, in line with the federal government's Renewed Hope agenda.
We are committed to transparency, thoroughness, and accountability throughout this process that will help us to identify and resolve the underlying issue plaguing Nigeria petroleum sector. The committee is also urging stakeholders in the current dispute to de-escalate tension as the committee embarks on the great task of resolving the issue.
Our mandate, as set by the House on July 9th, encompasses a comprehensive forensic legislative investigation into the several critical areas, including but not restricted. 1. The importation and production of substandard petroleum products, the availability of good and quality crude oil supply to domestic refineries. 3. The enforcement of regulatory standards by bodies such as the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the NMDPRA.
Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, who represented the Speaker, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, stated that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to creating a fair and level playing field for producers and refiners in the industry. He urged the Joint Petroleum Committee on Midstream and Downstream sectors to ensure that the pricing model used by all producers does not harm domestic refineries. Kalu also encouraged the committees to work towards aligning the domestic crude oil supply obligation with the nation's energy security in collaboration with sector regulators to address the challenges and re-engineer the regulatory processes. The hearing was adjourned to allow all parties to make presentations on their activities in the petroleum sector.
It must be reiterated that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is fully committed. Therefore, I implore the rule of engagement to ensure that the pricing model from the oil producers does not hinder the domestic refineries. I also implore the Joint Petroleum Committee on Midstream and Downstream sectors to work together towards a convergence between the domestic crude oil supply obligation and the nation's energy security as it works with the sector regulators to re-engineer their respective regulatory processes.
Now to other stories. The Public Relations Officer, Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital Resident Doctors Association, says they're embarking on a 3-day warning strike beginning from Monday. Dr. Imran Sani Abdulaziz said the strike becomes imperative after the expiration of 1 week ultimatum given to the management of the hospital by the resident doctors. The association held an emergency congress where the issue was brought to the fore and discussed with the resolution signed by the President and Secretary. Dr. Suleiman Isa Ada and Dr. Minat Jima forwarded to the management of the hospital to act, but to no avail. According to him, the major issue, a payment of arrears of accouchement allowance, where more than 60% of federal health tertiary institutions in the Northwest Zone commenced payment of and paid a significant amount of these monies, but ABUTH have not. Other issues are members on the GiveMix platform were paid June 2024 salaries in percentage, but they are being owed salary arrears from 2021. Non-implementation of the 25% money to our members on the non-regular platform and not payment of arrears of the reviewed asset allowance to its members on GiveMix platform. Now to judicial matters, the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the suit instituted against the federal government by the family of late head of state General Sani Abacha, challenging the revocation of property of the former military ruler located in the Maitama district of Abuja. Justice Peter Lifu dismissed the suit in a judgment on the case filed 9 years ago, in which the Abacha family members are demanding for the return of their father's mansions located at Osara Close in Maitama and 500 million naira compensation. In the judgment, Justice Lifu predicated the dismissal on various grounds, among which are the suit had become statute barred at the time it was filed in 2015, and that those who initiated the case have no local standing legal power to do so. The suit was filed by Muhammad Sani Abacha, the eldest surviving son of the former military ruler, and the widow Ajia Mariam Abacha, on behalf of the executioners of the estate of the late military general. Listed as first to fourth defendant in the suit are the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory (MFCT), Federal Capital Development Authority (FCDA), President and Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Salome Ventures Limited. The new dismissal of the suit marked the fourth time the family would lose legal battles on their prosperity in court, having lost twice at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory and once at the Court of Appeal in Abuja on grounds of jurisdiction. Upon shifting the battle to the Federal High Court, Abacha family, among others, prayed the court to nullify and set aside the revocation of the certificate of occupancy of the property of the late General Abacha. In his judgment, Justice Lifu agreed with Onoja San that the course of action arose on February 3, 2006, when the certificate of occupancy was revoked, while the case was filed in May 2015, years after the revocation, and far more than 3 months it ought to have been filed. You're still on to the news on Galaxy Television. Let's go on a break. When we come back, the news continues. We are glad to have you back. Now, for more updates and latest news, please visit our website www.galaxytvonline.com. Connect with us on our X handle at Galaxy TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galaxy TV News. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Galaxy TV. Remember to follow and tag us on our Instagram page as Galaxy TV. You can also avail our eyewitness feature via WhatsApp. If you have breaking news around you, simply share your story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 0818 6666 669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate the live updates and comments. Arewa Consultative Forum, the umbrella body for all socio-cultural groups in northern Nigeria, has dissociated itself from the planned nationwide protest, describing it as ill-planned and lack national interest. This was disclosed by the chairman of the forum, Manike Usman, while fielding questions from newsmen at Kaduna State Government House on Monday. In his remarks, the Kaduna State Governor, Senator Uba Sani, says despite the multicultural, multi-ethnic and multi-religious composition of northern Nigeria, the ACF remain a rallying point to solving challenges confronting the region and urge everyone to join hands and tackle the challenges confronting the region. While Mamamika Usman, in his remarks, says the purpose of the visit is to promote a deeper conversation around the insecurity and food crisis ravaging northern Nigeria, amongst others.
Last National Working Committee meeting of the Arewa Consultative Forum, we reflected on it, and we reached the consensus that the National Publicity Secretary should speak out on behalf of ACF, completely disassociating the ACF, and to tell our people that it is ill-timed, it's not purpose-driven, and it is not in the interest of the North and the country.
Insecurity in the North has retarded developments in the critical sectors. A lot of farmers cannot access their farms. Food insecurity now confronts us directly. Child and maternal mortality are on the rise, particularly here in northern Nigeria. Our infrastructure have decayed. The moves to address our infrastructural deficit are equally threatened by insecurity.
In their wisdom, northern leaders, including state governors, emirs and chiefs and other elders, made the decision to establish the ACF back in the year 2000. It was against the background of similar crisis of widespread insecurity and strife.
Police in Delta says it has arrested 5 suspected armed robbery and kidnap suspects in the Delta communities of Ogara, Sapele and Abo. The command in a statement, while spokesperson of Daffy Bright made available to newsmen, said the suspects confessed to be members of a secret cult group known as Juris Confraternity. They are said to be behind major criminal incidents in Ogara, Sapele and environs before they were apprehended under the orders of the Delta Police Commissioner, CP Olufemi Abaniwanda, who directed ASP Julius Robinson to go after them. Items recovered from them include 2 AK-47 magazines, 29 rounds of live ammunition, 1 Barretta pistol and 1 Locally pistol, as well as Indian helm and charms. The Delta Police Commissioner Olufemi Abaniwanda calls on Deltans to continue to provide useful information to the command and ensuring that criminal elements are flushed out from the state. In the report you're about to see, correspondent John Felix chronicles the journey of the first African to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1986, who says going into space remains one of his unfulfilled dreams. We have details in this report.
Oluwole Soyinka, born on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Nigeria, was the first African to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1986. Soyinka's early life was shaped by his parents' strong cultural heritage and the political turmoil of colonial Nigeria. His writing career began in the 1950s with his debut play, The Lion and the Jewel, which tackled themes of culture and identity. From his early days as a young poet to his later years as a Nobel laureate, Soyinka's work has been a beacon of hope, challenging the status quo and inspiring change. In a rare moment of recognition and celebration, Nigeria's literary giant Wole Soyinka was honored in his home state of Ogun.
That from among us, a great person like Wole Soyinka has emerged. That means that there are so many others who are still hidden. May God bring them out in his own time. We are looking out for more Nobel laureates in physics, in chemistry, in medicine, in mathematics, in various areas, not just literature. So I will pray we will get them.
He's just a man of many parts, and that's why you see the whole of Egba, doing our own bit here. So once again, I congratulate him, and I wish him many more years.
What we want, apart from people celebrating the man, is to take on board the lessons of his life and the philosophy and the ideologies that he preaches, which is justice, equity, humanitarianism.
In a fitting tribute, Ogun State Governor described Soyinka as a world-class citizen and a towering figure in literature, who has made immense contributions to the nation's educational development. He then honors Professor Soyinka
as our own way of immortalizing Prof. name in his home state of Ogun. We will be naming the 5.7 kilometer Cape Town Idioba Road that leads to Prof's home as well. After him, it shall now be called Oluwole Soyinka Road.
Champion for democracy, he is a champion for human rights, and he is a champion for human dignity.
Call him a special being, a unique man, and a special gift to humanity. You may not be out of place. Wole Soyinka is well known across the world for his works and activism. He speaks on one of his dreams that is yet to be fulfilled.
One of them, for instance, is going up in space. As one accomplishment which I see hanker for. And if any of you know somebody who can buy me a seat on the next rocket, just let me know. And then at the end of that, I will feel absolutely accomplished.
Soyinka's writing is known for its complexity and unflinching critique of power. At 90 years of age, he continues to be a powerful voice advocating for human rights, culture, amongst others. From Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, John Felix reporting for Galaxy Television News.
Now we move to the international desk for more news. This is news from the international scene. After weeks of speculation, Vice President Kamala Harris, endorsed by President Biden to succeed him as the Democratic presidential candidate this fall, will have a bench of new generation party leaders to turn to when she moves towards the first critical decision of her candidacy, picking a running mate. By now, the list of possibilities is fairly well known. Democrats who had already seemed like potential presidential contenders in 2028 or as potential candidates themselves this year. It is too soon to know if Ms. Harris will go unchallenged for her party's nomination. But either way, she needs to begin to consider who would be our running mate in a race against the Republican ticket, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance in a month. Democrats will convene in Chicago for their nominating convention. Ms. Harris, 59, would be inclined to turn to someone from a swing state that the party needs to win. She is also likely to turn to a male running mate, Democrats said, to give the ticket balance. Again, though, nothing is certain since the bench includes several women. And that's it for now, but do join us at 9 p.m. for our primetime news. My name is Eriba Mr. Lako. See you then.